Welcome on the pure wisdom, chosen ones. A raging fire is unafraid of the wind's whispers. The cosmos does not debate with people who oppose its will. It just deletes them. When your adversaries realize they are losing, they shout the loudest. They scratch, claw, and hurl things at you. Not because they are powerful, but because they are desperate. They fight in only one manner. They know by attempting to break you. But here is the reality. They never fought you. They were resisting the power that had chosen you. And nobody wins against the universe. Before we continue, please take a time to like and subscribe so that more people can see this. The more powerful our force gets. Each time you participate, you tell the system that this message has to be distributed. This is how we gather. This is how we ascend. Now, let us begin. The world fears the chosen ones, not because of what they see, but because of what they cannot influence. When you are selected, you become a disruptor, an abnormality, a force that cannot be foreseen or controlled. When you enter into a room, the air moves. You exist, and their illusions begin to disintegrate. This is why they attacked. This explains why they whisper. They believe that if they push enough uncertainty, opposition, and weight onto your shoulders, you will crumble beneath it. But the fact is that a chosen one is unbreakable. You were designed to weather the storm, to rise when no one else could, to wield unrivaled strength. But now you're questioning yourself, doubting your own light, speaking to yourself in the dark, wondering if you were wrong, if you were supposed to be ordinary. How dare you? How dare you question what the universe has given you? How could you pretend you were abandoned when every power in existence is working in your favor? Your foes aren't only battling you. They are battling the same force that created you. The war was lost for them the minute you were selected. They want you to respond and spend your energy indicating that you are entangled in their games. However, the strongest warrior does not fight wars that have already been won. You don't interact with those under you. You do not respond to those who do not matter. Your quiet will be louder than their screaming. Your very presence will be their most terrifying nightmare. Because they can't stop you. They cannot shake you. And no matter what they do, they cannot undo what the cosmos has decreed. You do not need to combat them. You just need to totally embrace your identity. As soon as you do, notice how they vanish. Not because you drove them away, but because they are unable to coexist with something higher. The weak inevitably fade in the face of great strength. So stand up, straighten your back, let them watch, let them whisper, allow them to plot. None of this matters. They vanish the instant you realize how powerful they are. And to you, the one who was never supposed to sit in, the one who was meant to ascend. This message represents your signal. If you feel the fire or sense a change, you are precisely where you should be. Smash the like button. Please subscribe and comment. The number is 77. If you're willing to silence every opponent forever, every second you remain enhances the force that draws you to your power. Now, let's get started. If you are genuinely selected, you will sense it gradually. You will be unable to look away. Let me begin. Number 1. A ruler never debates with idiots. He lets the throne talk. They yelled. They flung everything at you. Lies, uncertainties, and distractions. Hopefully, something will stick. I'm hoping they can shake you. However, they lost because you refused to respond. Power isn't just about loudness. It's about being present. The water does not need to warn of impending storms. A wildfire does not seek permission to devour everything in its path. When the cosmos changes in your favor, it doesn't pause to explain why. They never fought you. They were attacking the system itself. The system never loses. They behave as if they despise you or cannot tolerate you. But let us speak the truth. They dread you not for what you have done, but for who you are. They sensed it from the time you stepped into the room. They felt in you a change in energy a weight of something larger than they would ever be, and this consumes them alive. Ever wonder why their assaults seem so personal? Why are they following you so closely? Why are they trying so hard to pull you down? Because they understand they cannot reach you. Their worst nightmare is not your failure. It is your success. They observe you moving silently, untouchable, unshaken, and it destroys them because everything they do is meant to be seen, heard, and validated. But you do not require an audience. You do not require permission. You exist, and it alone endangers their whole universe. An idiot believes that they can defy gravity and leap off a cliff without falling. Your adversaries believed they could manipulate, plot, and lay roadblocks in your path without repercussions. But the cosmos maintains a perfect score. They weren't simply joking with you. They were challenging the system's overall equilibrium. And suddenly everything is clicking back into place. Have you seen how they are suffering now? How are their plans collapsing? How the traps they lay for you really capture them? That is not karma. That's right. The cosmos does not need retribution. It merely restores order. And the sequence is this. What was constructed on falsehoods will collapse. What was established on truth will rise. That's why you don't need to pursue justice. Justice is already in motion. They want you to anger. They want to know what happens next. But you're illegible. You are the hurricane that strikes without warning. The shadow that glides silently. A lion does not warn before he pounces. A tsunami does not negotiate before it hits. And a real chosen one does not spend time explaining, demonstrating, or defending. You simply move. And this is what is killing them. They intended to pull you into a conflict, but you refused to fight an already won conflict. Instead, you walked away, and nothing bothers them more than your absence. Do you want to discover the greatest revenge? Silence. Success. Watching them self-destruct while you prosper. Because the reality is they were never your competitors. They never played in the same league. A diamond does not ask to be noticed. A storm does not need permission to alter landscapes. And you don't have to explain why you're unstoppable. Check out how far you've come. Despite every trap, deceit, and treachery, you were not expected to live. But you did. And this alone makes you the most deadly player in the game. Your foes are running out of moves. Meanwhile, you are just getting started. Number 2, the sun makes no apologies for scorching it. Just glows. You don't even need to raise a finger. You don't have to say anything. Your very presence is enough to shock them. They sense it before you even go in. Even before you speak, the air shifts. They stiffen up and despise it. They despise that you carry things. They can't comprehend. Something they will never have. You do not even attempt. However, just your presence makes them anxious. You are a mirror they didn't want to confront. You reveal everything they pretended to be. You remind them of what they are lacking. Instead of repairing themselves, instead of confronting their own flaws, they strike out at you. Why? Because it is simpler to despise the sun than to realize that you will never shine as brightly as it does. They speak about you while you are not present. They throw shadow, attempt to twist your name, try to make you seem smaller. But do you understand what it really means? It suggests they've previously lost someone who was actually strong. Doesn't spend time planning against others. A lion is unconcerned by sheep's views. They are infatuated with you because they feel helpless in your presence, which kills them. You don't follow their rules. You do not ask for approval. You do not shrink to make them more comfortable. And this is why you are dangerous. They need validation to survive. They should be loved. They should be comforted. And you don't need anything. Your power comes from inside. You do not pursue. You do not beg. You do not explain. You merely exist. And this alone causes them to panic. They sought to control you, but the wind cannot be caged. They intended to break you, but you are constructed like a mountain. They wanted to see you disintegrate, but they didn't understand you were the storm. And now they're worried because nothing they do is working. They launch their strongest assaults at you, and you don't flinch. They attempt to trap you in their games, but you don't participate. They want to pull you into the mud, and you ascend above the quiet, the serenity, the serene force that emanates from you. It eats them alive. They don't comprehend how you walk with such confidence. How do you keep going? Even when everything was meant to crumble, they don't understand how you could be surrounded by foes and yet remain strong. But here is the reality. They were never really your concern. Your mere existence reveals everything fake. Everything is feeble. Everything was constructed on falsehoods. This is why they fear you. Look at them, fumbling over their thoughts, anxious to figure you out. You do not have to do anything. They're ruining themselves and attempting to drag you down. Their envy is devouring them from inside. Their own anxieties suffocate them. You were never in danger. They were. Because when you were chosen, the universe aligns itself to protect you, move for you, and eliminate everything that no longer serves your purpose. And they were never in your road. That is why they are fading away. This is why their assaults aren't landing. That's why the more they strive, the more they fail. They want it to be the storm that destroys you. But you're the storm. They believed they could manage you, but you were never intended to be tamed. They expected you to shatter, but they underestimated your resilience. That's why you shouldn't fight them. You do not need to prove anything. You don't need vengeance. You simply need to keep being yourself. Because nothing is scarier to them than a chosen one who understands their power. Number 3, a snake will always disclose itself. Simply wait for the hiss. You never had to hunt for them. You never had to sift through shadows to find the ones working against you. They revealed themselves. They couldn't avoid it at first. They kept things cool, grin in your face, and seemed to support you. But energy never lies. And when someone is in the presence of something larger than themselves, they lose control. Their facade begins to slip. And this is precisely what occurred. Your adversaries believed they were concealed. I thought they could play. Both sides believed they could work in quiet while smearing your reputation. But here's the deal. The weight of their own envy became too much to bear. The strain of your ascension caused them to disintegrate under their own fears. They wanted to observe you study. You pick you apart in the backdrop. They worried, however, as you began to win and rushed forward without looking back. And in their fear, they exposed themselves. They began sliding. They were talking a bit too loudly, throwing hints of hostility and displaying their envy via phony grins. And before they knew it, they weren't hidden anymore. They were standing in the open, completely exposed, looking like idiots. That's the trouble about being picked. You do not need to seek out adversaries. You simply need to keep going. And they will show themselves once they start monitoring you too carefully. Every step you make is being tracked. They speak about you more than about themselves. They spend so much time tearing you down that they fail to build themselves up. People quickly notice. What type of person spends their time attempting to ruin someone else? What type of person walks with so much bitterness? It isn't long until everyone realizes who they really are. That's the true irony. They believe they are harming you, but they are really exposing themselves. They wanted you to be the villain, but they ended up portraying themselves as the weak, bitter, desperate ones, obsessed by jealousy and unable to concentrate on their own destiny. They didn't only resent your accomplishment. Others despised your tenacity, the way you remained unshaken as others drowned in their own failures. And the more they attempted to disturb you, the worse things became for them. Because the fact is that the universe will not let them triumph over you. Every trap they lay for you will end up destroying them. Every falsehood they speak will be like poison. They suffocate on the energy they squander. You will be the reason they don't grow. And you do not need to do anything. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to argue. You do not have to reveal them. They will do all of this on their own, since their fascination with you is their undoing. They underestimated you. They assumed you would play their game. They assumed you'd reduce yourself to their level. They didn't comprehend that selected ones don't play with peasants. The chosen ones do not roll in the dirt with snakes. The chosen ones do not spend time proving themselves to individuals who were never on their level in the first place. And this is why they're losing. Your strength comes from knowing who you are and never leaving your throne while others go around in circles, exhausted by their own jealousy. You're already 5 steps ahead. They have the ability to speak. They can chatter. They can shout. It doesn't matter since, in the end, you're untouchable, and they will just serve as a lesson in your tale. Number 4, you are controlled by whomever has control of your emotions. They wanted you to shatter and erupt, to beg, because the instant you respond, they win. They feed off of your energy, fury, and misery. However, when you feed them nothing, they hunger. They label you frigid because you refuse to be manipulated. They label you heartless because you no longer tolerate their trickery. But the reality is, you are free, which scares them. They expected you to pursue, explain, and prove yourself. But you didn't. You stepped back and disengaged. And now they're losing their heads, trying to find out how they lost control of you. Emotional detachment is the most deadly weapon you can use. Not because you don't feel, but because you refuse to let emotions dictate your decisions. They use your emotions to shame you into remaining, to trap you into responding, and to keep you entangled in their web of confusion. But when you stopped reacting, the strings broke, and a puppet without strings is a worthless tool. They didn't anticipate you to outgrow them. They never imagined you'd have the fortitude to walk away. And yet here you are, untouchable and unaffected. Watching them crumble beneath the weight of their own games demonstrates that the most dangerous person in the world is the one who cannot be controlled. And that is precisely who you have become. They toss words at you like blades, expecting you to bleed, but you don't, because you have perfected the art of quiet. They wanted you to explain yourself and defend your decisions, to help people feel better about their own insecurities. But you don't owe them anything. The instant you stopped looking for confirmation, you became a danger. They can't tolerate it. You do not need their permission, that you don't flinch when they insult you, and that their absence does not disturb you. That is why they're still watching, waiting, and hoping for a response. Let them wait. Let them yell. Allow them to wonder why. Nothing. They don't affect you anymore. Because this is the truth. They never had influence over you. You just hadn't recognized it yet. They dominated you via guilt, affection, and duty. But once you recognized it for what it was, when you chose peace over turmoil, their authority dissolved. And now they're exposed. Without your energy to feed on, they're left alone with their own emptiness. This is why they lash out. Why are they scrambling for your attention? Because they are helpless without you. Walking away does not indicate weakness. It is power. It's the power to declare, I chose myself. It's the ultimate assertion that you won't be manipulated. They'll label you selfish. They will claim you've changed. They will call you the villain. Let them, because a chosen one never remains in areas that exhaust them. A selected person never explains their value. A chosen one goes on, unshaken, unstoppable, and invincible. And that is precisely why you have already won. Number 5, a dull flame will always despise the sun. You never had to utter a thing. You've never had to prove anything. Simply being in your truth and strength was enough to set them off. They despised you, not because of what you've accomplished, but because of what you symbolize. Your assurance causes others to reconsider their own hesitancy. Your mission serves as a reminder of how lost they are. Your sincerity reveals the masks they wear every day, and instead of repairing themselves, or confronting their own emptiness, they vent their wrath on you. It burns them to witness someone who isn't scared to shine in their own light. They have spent their whole lives pretending to be happy, pretending to be powerful, pretending to have it together. And then you come along, effortlessly genuine, and they can't bear it. You don't need to assault them. You don't need to compete. The very fact that you exist in full force crushes them. That is why they whisper. That is why people gossip. That is why they are trying to discredit you, twist your name, turn others against you, because they need you to be little. They require you to mistrust yourself. They require you to question your value. But here is the reality. Their struggle is not with you. It is with themselves. They've spent years running away from their own mirror, avoiding their own reality, and basing their identity on things that don't stand up. And now I'm standing next to you. All the cracks are showing. So they do the only thing they know how to do, project their own hate onto you. They label you arrogant because they do not comprehend confidence. They call you fortunate because they lack discipline. They label you different because they don't know what it means to be chosen. But let them speak, since nothing they say will alter who you are. They want you to fade, shrink, and make yourself simpler for them to manage. But why would you reduce your fire? Simply because they cannot tolerate the heat. Their suffering isn't your concern. If your light blinds them, they may turn away. If your energy level is too high, they may stand away. However, never darken yourself to make others comfy, because this is the secret. They don't really dislike you. They envy you. They wish they had your clarity, tenacity, and capacity to persevere in the face of adversity. They wish they did not have to live for affirmation. They wish they could go fearlessly. But rather than learning from you, they want to destroy you. Because destruction is simpler than self-improvement. Allow them to crumble under the weight of their own jealousy. Allow them to drown in their own bitterness. Because while they spend their time and energy hating you, you continue to rise. A diamond does not apologize for dazzling, and neither does a wildfire apologize for blazing. And you make no apologies for being at full strength. They'll either rise to greet you or recede into the background where they belong. Whatever happens, you continue to shine. Number 6, a shadow cannot block the sun. It merely confirms that light exists. They believe they could quit. You assume their insults, plots, and petty games would be enough to bring you down. But they never realized that you were never fighting in the same struggle as them. They are driven by fleeting desires such as attention, approval, and control over others. You move in accordance with something bigger. They fight to be seen, whilst you strive for something everlasting. That's why their assaults were never effective. That's why, no matter how loud they sounded, you continued going, since they were never a legitimate danger. They were never more than a diversion. Enemies come and go. However, your mission remains. Your destiny does not disintegrate because a few weak individuals attempted to stand in your way. A mountain does not collapse because the wind shouts at it. And that is just what they are. It's just wind. It's just noise. Just background noise in a tale that was never about them. They hurled everything at you, expecting you would give up, but they didn't grasp the difference between a fight and a war. You were never around for petty conflicts. You were designed for something much above their capabilities. That is why they detest you. Because you continue to prove them incorrect. Because you are still here, no matter how hard they assault. You're still soaring. You're still becoming. They don't understand what it's like to move with purpose, to be directed by something greater than ego or retribution, bigger than petty games. That is why they cannot figure you out. That's why they're obsessed with you. They exist only for a limited time. But you are immortal. They weren't aware that their animosity was a waste of time, that the energy they used planning against you is really exhausting them. That's why they seem fatigued. That's why they seem bitter. They believe they were pulling you down, but instead they burned themselves out. They were concentrating on you. You were focused on something bigger as they ran about in circles. You were heading ahead. That is why you never had to battle them. That is why you never needed to prove anything to them. They were never a significant barrier to begin with. They only had the power that you gave them. And when you stopped caring, when you returned your focus to your purpose, they vanished. The individuals who attempted to pull you down are just characters in your tale. Footnotes in a book they won't comprehend. They'll fade. However, your objective will not. And that is why they fear you. Because you'll outlast them. Because they know they will eventually be forgotten. However, your name will stay. Number 7. A wolf does not bark. It strikes. They wanted your words. They desired your response. Because as long as they had your attention, they held some of your power. However, when you were quiet, they panicked. Silence is the most deadly weapon you can use. Not because it demonstrates weakness, but because it compels people to confront themselves. The reality is, your adversaries aren't prepared for it. They depend on noise, diversions, turmoil, and getting you entangled in meaningless wars. They wanted you to explain yourself, justify your existence, and prove them incorrect. However, when you said nothing, you were untouchable. Silence confuses them. This annoys them. It causes them to question everything. Why haven't they responded? Why don't they protect themselves? Why don't they react? They spiral, overthinking every step and drowning in their own anxiety while you stay unharmed. That is power. An idiot argues. A king observes. A selected one remains mute and awaits the universe's response. They use words like daggers, yet they only harm themselves. They set traps, but they walk into them first. They tell tales, but reveal their own bitterness in the process. You remain silent throughout. You don't have to. Your very presence is enough to shock them. Your quiet is louder than their yells. Ever notice how they crumple when they don't receive a reaction from you? How their insults lead to desperation? How they start to slip, revealing their envy, anxieties, and dread. That is not an accident. This is the force of quiet at work. They cannot tolerate being ignored. They must be aware that they have reached you. They want confirmation that their remarks made an effect. However, if you do not flinch and do not fuel their fire, they will burn themselves out. And the greatest part? You never had to move a finger. Silence compels individuals to disclose themselves, to display their actual motives, and to admit their flaws. A person who cannot tolerate your quiet is not intended to be in your company, because true power does not want to be recognized. It does not pursue. It does not explain itself. A wildfire does not need permission to devour anything in its path. A tsunami never apologizes before it destroys the beach, and a chosen one never spends energy justifying their value to others who were never on their level. Let them ponder. Allow them to inquire. Allow them to dwell in the nothingness of their own noise. Your silence is a mirror, and what they see is their own demise. They desired conflict. You offer them nothing. And in that void, they annihilated themselves. They anticipated to be angry. They received apathy. They anticipated a battle. They were forgotten. And there is no worse destiny for an adversary than discovering they were never important to you in the first place. Allow them to speak. Allow them to plot. Allow them to sink under the weight of their own words. Because while they make noise, you move. And this is why you will always win. Number 8. An imprisoned mind will always despise the one who soars free. They don't just dislike you. They fear you not for what you've done, but because of what they can't do to you. They are unable to control you. They cannot predict you. They cannot manipulate you. And this understanding shocks them to the core. People who live on power, control, domination, and forcing others to bow to their will crumple in the face of someone who refuses to submit. They're accustomed to tugging the strings. But you You don't have any strings to pull. They attempted to instill guilt. You attempted to make you question yourself. They attempted to entice you into their games. But you never got on their board. You never followed their rules. And now they're scurrying, desperate to reclaim control over you that they never actually had. You see, weak individuals want control to feel strong. But genuine power, real power, is self-contained. It does not need validation. It is not necessary to modify. It does not need an audience. And that's why you scare them. They despise that you can walk away without looking back. They despise that you don't explain yourself. Do not justify. Do not seek for permission, because it implies they never had influence over you to begin with. And it is the actual dread, not your strength, but their weakness. They are afraid of things beyond their control, because without control, they have nothing. No influence, no authority means no power. So they turn to frantic, pitiful efforts to smear your reputation, alter the tale, and mobilize people against you. But even that fails, because once you refuse to be controlled, you are untouchable. That is why they speak. That is why they watch. That is why they scheme. They are unable to do anything else. A storm does not seek permission to rise. A wildfire does not apologize for destroying a chosen one, nor does it humble itself to justify its magnificence to those who do not understand it. They will despise you for your independence. They will be resentful of your might. They'll choke on the realization that you're everything they couldn't be. They want you to care. They want you to need their permission, to seek their approval, but you never will. And this is what breaks them the most. They can't take the fact that you function on your own terms, unaffected by their murmurs, threats, or falsehoods. That no matter what they throw at you, you will stay unshakable. They'll label you cruel, cold, and arrogant. They will accuse you of having changed and of believing you are superior to others. The Let Them Alliance is not concerned about sheep's views. You are not intended to be controlled. You are not intended to be domesticated. You are not supposed to be little, to remain quiet, to be predictable, and they'll despise you for it. They'll be afraid of you because of it, because the one thing they can't control is also the one they can't defeat. And that's you. Number 9. A caged lion remains a lion. A released lion becomes king. They held you in chains. They're not tangible, but rather unseen. The type that wraps around your brain. Doubts are spoken, and dread is fed, suffocating your power before it has a chance to develop. They taught you to seek approval, to wait for permission, and to think that power can only be gained through the acceptance of others. This was the first lie. You were never intended to be confined. You were never intended to play little, to make oneself smaller so that others may feel bigger. Dim your light so they don't have to squint. However, they made you feel you had to, because the chosen one has burst free. That is a power that no opponent can overcome. Unleashing your power starts when you stop seeking permission to exist. Think about it. How often have you held back, swallowed your words, and reduced your vitality? How many times have you doubted yourself because someone else was overwhelmed by your presence? They intended to tame you, because an uncontrolled, unrestrained version of yourself ruins everything. False. And now you're waking up, recognizing that the only thing holding you back is the illusion they made. The delusion that you need them. Their approval meant something, and you had to follow their rules. But what happens when you discover the cage was never locked? They're afraid because they see it now. The change in your energy, the way you walk, and how their words no longer affect you. You were once predictable and controllable. You are now untouchable, and it is the most hazardous thing you could ever be. They built their power on your hesitancy, self-doubt, and want to be accepted. But you've already burnt that yearning to the ground. You now stand in your own strength, without apologies, explanations, or shackles. They don't know what to do, because when you stop looking for affirmation, you become unstoppable. When you cease playing by their rules, you become invincible. When you stop requesting permission, you become unlimited. You can feel it, right? The shift. The moment you quit waiting. The moment you decided your authority was unquestionable. You realized there was no one. Nobody can go in the path of a chosen one who is broken free. Look around for those who questioned you. Silent, watching, nervous. The ones who attempted to keep you back. Scrambling. They realize they can't halt what is already in motion. And that is the beauty of it. They never had influence over you. They only had the power that you gave them. And now you've taken it back. You were never intended to fit in. You were never designed to live by their rules. You were created to demolish false systems, to tread where others are afraid, and to set fire to everything that attempts to confine you. And now you are doing it. See how they respond. Observe how they panic. Notice how they stopped whispering. I'm wondering how they lost control of you. They did not lose control. They didn't have it to begin with. And now that you see it, you realize there is no going back. You're free, and a chosen, liberated person is a force. No opponent will survive. Number 10, a shattered mirror will blame its reflection. They cannot tolerate you, not because you've done anything wrong, but because you remind them of everything they'll never become. Your very presence drives individuals to confront the reality, their flaws, anxieties, and unrealized potential. You don't need to call them out. You do not have to reveal them. They do this on themselves. You are an unavoidable mirror. That's why they detest you. They wanted to think they were strong, but seeing you stand up in the face of adversity shows them how easily they can be broken. They wanted to think they were unique. However, seeing you move with purpose reminds them that they have been going in circles. They wanted to think that they were powerful. However, when they realize that their remarks, jealousy, and assaults do not even make you flinch, it makes them realize how weak they actually are. And that is why they are fighting you. Not because of what you've accomplished, but because of what you symbolize. They watch you rising and are irritated, not inspired, since they know they could have done more. They understand they had opportunities. However, they were too sluggish, afraid, and weak to accept them. So, instead of improving themselves, they choose to despise you since you are live evidence that they have no justification. They fling mud at you in the hopes of covering up their own vulnerabilities. They fabricate stories about you in order to divert attention away from their own shortcomings. They strive to dampen your brightness, expecting that it would make their own darkness seem less oppressive. But no matter what they try, they can't escape their reflection. They compulsively speak about you, attempting to persuade themselves that you are the issue, yet all they are doing is expressing their own suffering. Without raising a finger, they demonstrate their weakness, bitter and lost. Here's the finest part. You don't even need to fight back. The fact is that they are ruining themselves. Envy is eating them alive. Their preoccupation with you is exhausting them. The desire to see you fall is preventing them from ascending. Meanwhile, you keep shining. You do not need to argue. You do not need to defend yourself. You do not need to prove anything to individuals who have already shown that they are beneath you. Because at the end of the day, your light will still expose them. Your accomplishment will continually remind them of their failure. Your strength will continue to reveal their weaknesses. Your continued progress will make their stagnation uncomfortable. They cannot escape it. You're everywhere. That's why they're outraged. Because no matter how hard they try to bring you down, they can't take their gaze away. They keep an eye on you, follow you, and gossip about you, despite the fact that they profess not to care. They mock your problems while keeping a close eye on you. They wish for your demise, yet they never stop looking up to you. You live rent-free in their minds, and the best retaliation is to give them nothing. No reaction, no energy, and no answer. Just success. Because nothing hurts them more than the realization that you were never in competition with them, in the first place. So keep going, rising and shining. Allow them to speak. Let them seethe. Allow them to drown in their own reflection. Because a mirror does not apologize for reflecting the truth, and neither do you. Number 11. Pressure generates diamonds, while fire produces steel. So keep the pressure on. They believe they could break you. They believe that if they threw you enough falsehoods, betrayals, and hurdles, you would eventually break. That you'd eventually give up. But here's something they never understood. You were never supposed to take every strike they delivered or every knife they flung at your back. Every trap they placed just helped you become stronger. They didn't comprehend that the storms they sent to kill you were also transforming you into something unbreakable. The more they press, the stronger you become. The more they strive, the more they fail. Because every time they believed they had won, you rose again. Every time they thought you were done, you came back more stronger. They expected you to remain down and drown under the weight of their assaults. But you're not made of glass. You're built of iron. They believed they were weakening you, but they just sharpened the weapon. They don't know why nothing works now, why every insult glides off your back, and why every betrayal makes you wiser, why each failure feeds your next move. It is because they do not understand it. They don't understand what it means to be forged in fire, made for the storm. They wanted to see you terrified. They wanted to witness your desperation. However, all they did was transform you into something they could never beat. And this is what worries them most. They attempted to undermine your confidence. Instead, you grew courageous. They attempted to get you to question yourself. Instead, you became unshakable. They attempted to seize your power. Instead, you found you'd been unstoppable all along. They wanted you to believe you were weak, that you required their approval and affirmation. However, you stopped caring and responding. I've stopped explaining. You became the greatest menace they'd ever faced. And now they're the ones who are scared. I'm afraid of how much stronger you've gotten. Afraid that you will no longer flinch at their strikes. Afraid of what you'll do now that you've realized your own power. They can't see you anymore. They cannot frighten you anymore. They can't stop you now. The more they attempt, the more dumb they seem. Because every obstacle, betrayal, and attempt to bring you down has just helped you grow into a version of yourself that they will never be able to touch. You have already won, not because they ceased assaulting, but because it no longer matters. Their remarks are meaningless. Their plans are predictable. Hey, irrelevant. They flung fire at you, and you emerged as the fire itself. They threw storms your way, and you became the thunder. They attempted to bury you, but forgot you were a seed. The more they attempted to break you, the more resilient you grew. And now they're the ones collapsing. At number 12, a candle may be blown out, but the sun burns, regardless of who dislikes it. They watch you study and you stress about yourself. They're trying to find out why you move the way you do and why nothing appears to affect you. Why your very existence seems like an overwhelming force for them to bear. And the reality is, they don't fear you. It's their frailty in the face of your strength. They want to think you are exactly like them, that you are average, that you may be shaken, damaged, or controlled, but you're not like them. And it is what consumes them alive. Your intensity is something they can never comprehend. It can't be touched, taken, or decreased. It is yours alone. They may duplicate your phrases, emulate your manner, and even attempt to reproduce your achievements. However, they will never capture the spirit of who you are. They are well aware of this. That is why they speak. That is why they plot. That's why they look for gaps in your armor, hoping to locate a secret vulnerability to exploit. But all they discover is a wall to hide behind and a fire that is too powerful to extinguish. They are terrified. I'm afraid that no matter what they do, they'll never reach your level. Afraid that no matter how hard they attempt to bring you down, you will simply soar higher. They cast shadow, seeking to obscure your brightness. But what they don't grasp is that your energy does not need permission. It does not need authorization. It does not conform to the ideas of the weak. You might be gone for months, saying and doing nothing, and they would still sense your presence. That is the degree of power you possess. You don't have to show your evidence, which kills them. They want you out of the shadows, hoping for your collapse. However, they just sense a force that they cannot touch since your energy is not corporeal. It cannot be stolen, broken, or controlled. They will dread it till they die. Have you ever observed that their efforts to ruin you always fail? How their resentment constantly comes back to poison them? That is not luck. That's the law. The cosmos does not reward envy. It does not benefit those who engage in dishonesty. It restores equilibrium. And balance implies that you will always have access to all that is intended for you. They can whisper. They can plan. They may organize against you. However, they will never be able to sit where you do. They will never have the energy you have since this road was never intended for them. They attempted to diminish you with their doubts. They attempted to bury you behind their words. However, all they did was make you indestructible. And now they're haunted, not by your actions, but by their failures. They had the same time, chance, and opportunity. But instead of expanding, they concentrated on observing you. Rather than constructing, they concentrated on destruction. They now have nothing to show for it. Your energy was never in risk. The only thing at stake was their sense of control. Let them dread you. Let them whisper. Allow them to wait for your demise. Because they'll be waiting indefinitely. And it is the truth. They were never an actual menace. They feared, envied, and attempted to pull you down. But regardless of how hard they battled, your energy remained impenetrable. They were simply battling with themselves. You were designed to ascend, lead, and conquer, and nothing they do will alter it. If you experience this truth in your soul, be present. Smash the like button. Click subscribe. Drop the number 77 in the comments and share it with another selected person. The cosmos speaks more loudly as we raise our voices. Keep going. Continue winning. If it confirms something you already felt deep inside, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, drop a comment below, and let me know which part hit home for you the most. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because this journey isn't over. There's more to come, more wisdom, more confirmation, and more powerful truths that will push you into your next level. You don't want to miss what's coming next. If you're enjoying the content on Pure Wisdom and find value in the messages we share, I encourage you to subscribe. Based on the latest analytics, 93.9% of viewers are watching without subscribing. By subscribing, you not only stay updated with new content, but also support the channel's growth, allowing us to continue spreading wisdom for the chosen ones. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an important message. Let's build this community together.